All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to tackle one of the biggest, most persistent ideas in pop psychology, the whole myth of the split brain. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you've definitely heard it. You've probably even said it yourself. You know, stuff like, oh, I'm just so right brained, I'm the creative one, or he's super left brained, all logic. It's become this easy go to shorthand for explaining who we are, what we're good at, and what we're not.
And hey, it makes total sense why we think this way. If you believe it, you are not alone. We all kind of learned it from the same places, right? Those colorful posters in a classroom, those 5-minute personality quizzes online, maybe even a team building workshop at work. It feels true because, well, it's a simple and kind of a flattering story to tell about ourselves. But, and this is the big but, it's just not how our brains actually work. Not even close. This idea is one of the stickiest narrow myths out there. So let's peel it back and look at what's really going on. Okay, so to get why this myth has such a hold on us, we've got to go back to where it started. It didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's actually a huge oversimplification of some really fascinating real science. The real scientific idea here is something called lateralization, and all that means is that some very specific brain functions tend to be more concentrated on one side. So for example, for most right-handed folks, the part of your brain that handles grammar and sentence structure, that's mostly in the left hemisphere. But figuring out the tone of voice, or if someone's being sarcastic or telling a joke, that leans more on the right hemisphere, you see? Even something as basic as understanding language is a total team effort. It's about specific tasks, not who you are as a person. And this is where you can really see the split between the actual science and the pop psychology myth. Science says, hey, some functions are a little more active on one side. But the myth says you, as a person, are one-sided. It took this really cool, nuanced discovery and flattened it into a personality quiz, a total game of telephone. And look, modern brain imaging is crystal clear on this. When scientists actually look at brain activity, with all the fancy scanners, they find zero evidence for these global brain types. There's no such thing as a person who is more left-brained or more right-brained overall. It just doesn't exist. The reality is so much cooler and honestly more beautiful. Both sides of your brain are talking to each other constantly, nonstop. They're woven together by this incredible bundle of nerves. It's called the corpus callosum. You can think of it like a superhighway for information, or maybe like golden threads that are constantly stitching everything together so that two expert partners can create one single, seamless story of your world. Okay, so who cares, right? It might seem like a harmless little label, but the thing is, these labels actually have a real cost. The myth gives us this easy story to tell about ourselves, but that story can turn into a cage pretty quickly. Believing in this stuff can seriously hold you back. You tell yourself, oh, I can never paint, I'm just too left-brained, and boom, you never even pick up a brush. Or you wave away a challenge with, ugh, I can't do math, I'm right-brained. These labels basically give you permission to not even try. They create a fixed mindset that just slams the door on so many possibilities for growth. But the truth is, your brain is way more flexible and integrated than that. Think about it. An artist uses a ton of logic and spatial reasoning to compose a masterpiece. And an engineer, they need incredible creativity to solve a problem nobody's ever cracked before. You aren't one or the other. You're this amazing, dynamic, whole brain system that's capable of doing it all. Okay, so let's move on from the myth and get to something that's actually useful, something more accurate and, frankly, more empowering. Let's talk about a better way to describe ourselves, one that actually lines up with how we really work. So here's the big question, right? If we're going to throw out these left brain and right brain labels, what are we supposed to use instead? Well, the answer is actually really simple and way more helpful. It's all about precision. So check this out. Instead of a vague, dead-end label like, I'm right-brained, try naming the actual skill, like, I'm pretty good at visual thinking. And instead of, I'm just bad at logic, how about something that opens a door, like, I'm working on my structured problem-solving skills. See what that does? It shifts you from a fixed identity to a simple description of where your skills are at right now. And that right there is the key. You are a whole person. Your strengths aren't some destiny written into one half of your brain. They're skills you've built through practice and effort. And that means you have the power to learn and grow in any direction you want. All right, as we wrap up, we've got a simple little practice for you to take this idea and actually use it this week. It's super low-key. This isn't about being perfect or correcting yourself. It's really just about paying attention.
So here's your checkpoint for the week. Step 1. Just notice. Notice when you hear it from a friend on TV or even from yourself, that left brain or right brain talk. Step 2. In your head, just try to rewrite the sentence. What's really being said? And finally, step 3, see if you can name the specific skill they're actually talking about.
And what you'll probably find is that this little act of mental translation makes everything so much clearer. You're swapping out a fuzzy, unhelpful myth for something real and tangible. You start seeing actual skills, not limiting labels. Because really, the big idea here is that logic and beauty, they aren't separate things. They're stitched together into a single integrated story. If something felt like it clicked or relaxed for you during this, just try to stay connected with that feeling. In our next explainer, we're going to reveal how to spot the myth of learning styles. You can move forward to that whenever it feels right for you. And if you want to go deeper and strengthen these skills, Life Skills TTP has community resources and self-paced guides that go hand in hand with this kind of work.